machines. Working for you, doing mighty things there. Mighty machines.
One day, the harbor down at Gridinia Bay was very busy. Lots of ships were sailing in and out of the docks, and there was a big shipment from Europe coming in shortly. The engines working the docks were rushed off their wheels as the cranes loaded cargo onto their flatbeds and freight cars.
Where are these headed out again, dear?
Celgreb City Freight Yard for the gas and refrigerator containers. The rest go to the docks in Celgreb Harbour.
Understood.
How much more coal does this blasted ship need?
About 6 more wagons. They're parked by the supplier's yard.
The ship just radioed in to say it's coming into the coast. I'm going out to bring it in. I'll bridge the other tugs to help.
Thanks, 10 cents.
It soon became apparent that other engines were needed at the docks, since there was too much for the harbor yard engines to do on their own.
Morning, Pepper Pete. Hi, Edward.
Morning, Tracy.
It's Tracy, Pete. Tracy.
Oh, that's what I said, didn't I? Anyway, where are you off to this morning?
Some mail got misdelivered?
Nope. I'm heading off to the docks.
The docks? That's a busy place for you to work at.
Yeah, but I've worked there before, so I can take care of myself there.
Hope it all goes well then.
Good luck, youngster. Just mind the bigger work you're given.
I will.
Tracy made record time getting to the harbor. She couldn't wait to start work by the beautiful seaside. When she got there, 10 Cents and some other tugs had managed to get the ship into the port. It was huge, heavily loaded with goods, and ready for unloading and reloading. Tracy was rushing towards Emma and the ship, ready to double-check what her jobs were, when...
Watch where you're going, you dinky little engine.
Important engines with more important freight coming through.
Oh no, not Cerberus and Diesel 10. What are they doing here?
They've come to help out with the heavy goods.
What? Them? Why couldn't you get someone like the haulers at the Groflin docks?
They're really busy, too. We didn't have a lot of engines free today with all the deliveries coming in, so we've had to work with all we've got.
Well, I suppose that's understandable. So, what do you want me to do today? Shunting big trains on the main dock again?
Sorry, Tracy, not this time. I need you to help Trix and Skip at the supplier's yard. They've got a lot of deliveries and materials to get out, so they need someone to help sort out the trains.
Okay, who's Trix and Skip?
You'll find out. They're a nice couple of machines.
Emma was right. Trix and Skip are as nice as they are hard-working. Trix the forklift zips about the yard loading cargo for the trains and trucks that come to the dock, while Skip takes garbage from the building sites and yards down to the dump. Whenever he's paying attention, that is.
Rattling rods! Look at all this stuff! Oh, you must be Trix and Skip.
We certainly are. And you've got to be... Oh! Ouch! Tracy!
Indeed I am. So, what do I have to shift?
Oh, well, for a start, you can shove those bricks and lumber together. They're going up to Prillam for the new townhouses.
And then you can get those empties to Cranky so we can load up the special Suttoko stuff that just arrived for the mainland.
I'm on it. I'll get it done in no time. Flat.
Down by the docks, that's the place to be. Down by the docks, the gateway to the sea. Down by the dockside, we are the team, working together, just like family. Down by the docks, you're never on your own. Down by the docks, it's really home from home. Down by the dockside, down by the dockside, down by the dockside, it's where we want to be. It's where we want to be.
Later that afternoon, Diesel, Ten, and Cerberus were just heading out to the Gridinia Bay goods depot with a long line of cars when Diesel crossly rolled alongside. And where do you think you two are going?
Another load of crummy wagons. What's so bad about that?
We've got a load coming in from on those narrow gauges at the junction, and one of you has to take it.
Don't see why it has to be us. We've been hauling all morning.
I know someone who would.
Hey, Diesel! What's up?
Dockmaster Noisy just said you've got a special to pick up from the junction.
Really? A special?
Oh yes, some goods from the hills going down here. They need those wagons urgently.
Wow, that's something for a little engine like me.
Tracy, are you sure we should do that? And from orders of Debrius Diesel?
Hey, 10 cents! That delivery from the junction here yet?
Not yet, Dockmaster. Should be here soon, though.
Well, what do you... Oh, no.
Tracy had wasted no time getting to the junction. The cars were already waiting for her, freshly loaded up with heavy goods.
I got these buffers buffed.
Now, Tracy was not inexperienced at pulling goods trains, but she'd never really hauled goods trains this heavy before, and usually the goods trains were kept to the flatter parts of the railway. And she was finding out very quickly that they were a lot harder to control than she thought.
Are you guys sure she's pulled the heavy goods before? Cause it's not looking like that to me. Yeah, I'm getting vibes she's an amateur. My buffer feels like a cutter switch. Got it. For the love of Will, why she giving her the right of way? We got the right of way. Good grief. Hey, like guys, I got an idea. So hear me out. Why don't we like push you down the big hill a little bit? You know, not like in a mean way. Just kind of like, you know, hey, teach you for next time kind of way. Not supposed to be hard or anything.
Do you really want to do this right now?
I mean, if it makes you guys happy, I'm having a fun ride back here. You know what, Joe? I don't always agree with you, but let's do this. Everyone in favor? Clang. Good. Let's do it. We'll talk about good timing, because here it comes now.
So is this going to be like an easy push on her? Because I'm not sure what the plan is here right now.
Right. Only about a mile more, and we'll be... what the... come on! Slow down!
I don't think so! Tracy tried to apply her brakes, but it was too late. The cars were pushing her faster and faster down the line, and not even the brake van could help.
Help! Somebody help! Look out! Runaway train! Oh, goodness! Stop!
The out-of-control Tracy and her cars were sent speeding along through the docks and down the line towards the old wooden pier.
So, Joe, did you forget about the giant pin we're about to crash off of? I didn't know it was there. I thought we were going to lose the buses or something.
Luckily, 10 Cents had been docking a sand barge near the pier and had set it up to make a makeshift arrestor bed when he saw her coming down.
Oh, thanks, 10 cents. I owe you one.
No problem, mate. I'll go and fetch a crane. Then you can get some of that sand out of your valves.
Because the tide was too low to lift her out, Tracy had to sit in the barge for some time. A little bit happened while she waited. Cars were delivered. Engines were found out and punished. And ships shouted, "Anchors away!" But even as Bonavista finally arrived to lift her out of the barge, Tracy still felt ashamed for causing an accident by jumping into a situation she wasn't prepared for. As the workmen got ready to lift Tracy out from the barge, Emma, Trick, Skip, and Luke all came to help out any way they could.
Engine secured. Bring her up, boys.
Now, don't be hard on yourself, kid. It wasn't all your fault. Those three were looking for an easy way out of a situation, and you got tricked into it. From what I heard from these two, you were a big help.
Yeah, you were a huge help getting all the deliveries out today.
Even if you got a little sandy.
Thanks, guys. And I learned something else, too.
Well, what's that?
10 cents to trap for the baseball team with his catching skills.
Oh, I get it! Because he got you inside! Welcome to Crotoonian Shoots, the program in which we see the railways of Crotoonia in all of its raw wonder. On today's journey, we'll be traveling from the Bartlett Bay salt mine to Celgreb Bay Harbour. In the buzzin' country of Crotoonia, there's all kinds of machines that help to keep things running on time, each one having their own special jobs to do. But every now and then, new machines come to help run a new part of the railway, like Audrey, the Super Seaside Express engine. Audrey is quite a blend for an engine. She's got as many wheels as Edward, is almost as big as Gordon, and has a cap like Livy. Audrey's a super strong engine too. She can pull as many as 12 coaches. That's almost 3 times more than your average little engine on Crotoonia. Audrey may get swept up in her thoughts and imagination sometimes, but her creative attitude and care for her friends, along with the new poems and tales she makes on her travels, makes her one mighty machine. Welcome to Crotoonia, Audrey!
Mike was cross. The thin controller had assigned him to ballast duties for being naughty, and Mike hated being stuck at the mines all day. He found it rather boring. One morning, Mike arrived at Chipperton Wharf with a loaded train of ballast. He saw Duncan, who was getting his train loaded. "Morning, Mike. What's up?" "I feel overworked. That's what's up," huffed Mike. "I've been going up and down the line all day, stuck with the ballast trains, and all because I burst a safety valve and started an elderly woman." Duncan pondered for a moment. "You know, if I was on your wheels, I would have probably taken a break up on the coast at Bermaber. You know, have the ocean breeze in your face. Your line does run up there after all." And with that, Duncan set off for the quarry. This gave Mike an idea. All that week, Mike tried everything to sneak off to Bermaber. He tried to sneak ballast cars and lumber cars out as a construction delivery. He tried to run off light engine on his own and even begged the yard manager to let him go there. At last, he finally got a job on the resort end of the line, but not the one he had hoped for.
"An express train needs to be arranged at the Swahili Water Park Resort for a group of tourists. I need you to bring them some coaches so they have enough for the train to carry them."
"Yes, sir," said Mike, but he had a plan. Mike knew of one carriage that had a faulty coupler pin on it, so he coupled that to the front of his train. As he trundled out with 5 heavy covered carriages, he felt the pin push against him as he went downhill. "Not yet," he said. "We've got to wait until we reach the resort." As he approached the resort station, Scott, the express tank engine, was waiting for Mike's extra coaches. As he pulled into the platform, he put his plan into motion. With the pin loosened enough, left on the platform were the carriages for the train, and off went Mike. "What the?" said Scott.
"Slow down, Mike,"
said his driver.
"We just passed by the station."
But Mike wasn't listening. He was bolting it to the Bermaber coast. Stations and shunting yards flashed by as his driver fought for control of the regulator. At the big station in Bermaber, there were a pair of buffers on the other side of the turntable, just at the tail end of the shunting yards. Mike was still not paying any attention until he saw the buffers. Then everything happened at once. Mike found himself standing on the sand instead of the rails with the remains of the buffers behind him.
"Don't worry, Mike,"
called out his driver.
"I'll go phone for help."
Mike sighed. There had been a break, but not the one he had hoped for. Back at the Swahili Water Park Resort, Scott was still confused about what had happened as he backed down onto his coaches. Suddenly, he heard a blast of whistles and the clattering of equipment as Rishaira and Grace the crane roared past.
"Clear the tracks!"
shouted Rishaira.
"Derailed engine at Bermaber Beach!"
"Oh, mind your speed!"
called Grace.
"My gears are rattling!"
As Mike was lifted back onto the rails by Rishaira and Grace, he saw that Rex and Bert were also there. They'd come to help repair the tracks and buffers beyond the turntable.
Hell, Mike, you said you wanted a break from all the work you've been getting. But we never thought you would have it this way,
finished Bert.
Well, if I must admit, it was alright,
said Mike.
but I didn't think the only break that happened would be to a pair of buffers.
The three engines laughed in agreement.
In the buzzin' country of Crotoonia, there's all kinds of machines that help to keep things running on time. Each one having their own special jobs to do, but every now and then, they need a machine to help sort out all kinds of cargo. Like Russ, the reach stacker diesel from Chuggington Docks. Russ is certainly a one-of-a-kind diesel. He's a little like Harry and Hamish, a little like Skylar, and a little like Harvey. But unlike other crane engines, Russ has a container clamp instead of a hook, and his crane arm is curved instead of straight, so he can lift containers high off the ground. Russ is always ready to help out, and his nimble ways and friendly attitude makes him a friend to all who visit Groflin Harbour. He's one mighty machine. Welcome to Crotoonia, Russ. Welcome to Crotoonian Shoots, the program in which we see the railways of Crotoonia in all of its raw wonder. On today's journey, we'll be traveling back to the Bartlett Bay salt mines to see how they work. In the buzzing country of Crotoonia, there's all kinds of machines that help to keep things running on time, each one having their own special job to do. But every now and then, famous machines come and stop by and visit the railways. Like Stephanie, the Bluebell engine. Stephanie is a very distinct engine. He's smaller than Thomas, but bigger than Callie, and has gold-colored paint just like Lady. Stephanie lives on the faraway Bluebell Railway and has previously visited Thomas and his friends on Sodor. Stephanie loves to make new friends wherever he goes, and is always enthusiastic to do whatever is needed wherever he visits. He even likes pulling freight cars. This Bluebell engine is one mighty machine. Welcome to Crotoonia, Stephanie.
Early one morning, Harry was struggling to get some freight cars moved from a siding. They were needed for a mixed traffic train that Donald and Douglas were to take to Nantasket Junction.
Come on! Come on! I'm gonna be late for my next job!
He groaned. His wheels spun and spun. The reason why the cars weren't moving at all was because their brakes were set. But he didn't realize this and just kept on pulling and pulling.
Come on! He groaned. I wish I was moving instead of standing still!
Suddenly, the coupling between him and the first freight car broke, and Harry ran right into a siding, smashed through some buffers, and stopped halfway across an old tramp steamer. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Harry's front was badly bent. Skipper Stu and the harbor master came over to see if Harry was all right.
Well, the only major damage is bent buffers,
said the harbor master.
Oh, botheration,
said Skipper Stu.
Harry and Hamish were to collect the coastline flyer in an hour. Who can we get to take the train on such short notice?
Luckily, Russ was close by and heard everything.
I can take it,
he called out.
Are you sure, Russ?
The harbor master called back.
It's a tough train to pull.
Of course! We've got to keep the trains to time, you know.
Well, all right. But we've got to send Hamish to help out with the backlog while Harry's being mended. So you'll need to find another engine who can help you take the coastline flyer.
Yes, ma'am, Russ tooted confidently. I can manage that. But as Russ got closer to Celgreb Bay Harbour, he remembered something he should have kept in mind before. The coastline flyer was an express goods train usually hauled by Harry and Hamish that stops at every harbour along the Seaside Railway, starting from Celgreb Bay, it goes on to Croflin, and then goes all the way down to Gridinia Bay at the end of the line. Russ was worried, but was sure that he could find someone at Celgreb Bay who'd be happy to lend a wheel, just in case the train was too heavy for him to pull alone. Well, looks like I'll just have to ask the first engine I meet if they'll be able to help me, he decided as he pulled into the bustling dockyard. As he sorted out the containers for his train, he saw a little tank engine sitting on a siding, waiting for help.
Hello there,
he said.
You've got an interesting crane arm. Where's your hook?
I'm a reach stacker. I have clamps instead of hooks.
That's intriguing. I've never met a reach stacker engine before.
Oh, beg pardon for not introducing myself. I'm Stephanie.
And my name's Russ. I've got a big freight train to take to Gridinia Bay, but I'm not sure if I can do it on my own.
I'd be more than willing to lend a buffer,
said Stephanie cheerfully.
I'm catching a ferry there anyway.
Great, honked Russ. We'd better hurry if we're to get the goods delivered on time. As the two shunted together the loads to hook up, Russ told him about his work in Croflin and the many different engines he worked with. while Stephanie told him about his time in Crotoonia, in which he'd been visiting to be part of a great locomotive show at Celgreb City Sheds, and now had to return to his home in England, the Bluebell Railway. Russ and Stephanie decided to take the train in two halves. Russ would haul the containers, and Stephanie would haul the other loads, tankers, fish, stone, produce, and products from the factories around the city. When all was shunted and ready, the two set off down the Seaside Railway with their important train. Unfortunately, they didn't get very far, as the first stretch to get out of the harbor was uphill. They tugged and pulled, but no matter what, the engines couldn't get their trains up the slope.
I'm sorry, Russ. This train seems to be a bit tougher to haul up than I thought.
You're right, sighed Russ.
The coastline flyer is too heavy for both of us to pull separately, and if we leave later, we won't have time to uncouple each of the cars for the docks.
Then, as if by magic, both engines came up with the same idea. They decided to arrange each of their trains into two new halves. Cars for Grothlin were coupled to Stephanie, and cars for Gridinia Bay were coupled to Russ. Both brake vans were coupled together, then Stephanie with his train, and then Russ and his train. With an engine hauling at the front and an engine to haul from the middle, the two could get up the hill and on their way down the line. The rearranged train also made it easier to drop off and pick up cargo at the two stops. Stephanie's cars were uncoupled, and new cars of steel, fish, and lumber were coupled on. They made it to the docks just in time.
Well, it was a pleasure to work with you today, Stephanie. It's a pity you have to go home now.
Likewise, Russ. But I'm glad your crew have such a good friend. Keep everything in order back home, and who knows, maybe I'll visit here again. Goodbye, Russ, and Godspeed. Russ then rolled home, confident, ready for bed, and glad he had found himself a new friend.
In the buzzing country of Crotoonia, there's all kinds of machines that help to keep things running on time. Each one having their own special job to do, but every now and then, you need a big machine to take on the biggest jobs. Like Warrior, one of the strongest star tugs. Warrior's a super-sized tugboat. He's bigger than 10 cents, bigger than Sunshine, he's even nearly as big as Olsen. His main job is working with Whip and Scruff at the rubbish and recycling yard, but he also helps to bring ships in as well. Warrior tends to be a little bit clumsy on the water, but his heart's as big and strong as his engine, and will always roar into action to help a friend in need. Warrior truly is a mighty machine. Welcome to Crotoonia, Warrior!
Right then, Luke. What do you want me to do while you guys are gone?
Well, Tracy, I want you to arrange the goods train that Wartime's picking up later today. Can you manage moving the wagons in place?
Of course I can. Why do you think the tower called me to work here?
Because you like to do big jobs?
How did you know?
Well, that's what Humphrey and Roderick told me at your yard.
Oh, I knew that.
Now, we've got to go and pick up a package from the Gridinia Goods Depot. So, make sure things are done when we come back.
Right, time to get to work.
This load's gonna need to be shifted fast. Better get on it. Come on, just move. Please, just move. Come on, please move. Come on, move. Come on, please, just move. How am I gonna move these wagons? I've handled this kind of work before. That's it! Let's go get those other wagons.
Wow, Tracy, really good work. You get that home set in just 10 minutes?
Yep, all that lot was easy. After the first try.
The first try?
I'll tell you in a bit.
In the buzzing country of Crotoonia, there's all kinds of machines that help to keep things running on time. Each one having their own special job to do, but every now and then, a tall machine is needed for work too high and too far for other machines to reach. A tall machine like Cranky the Crane from the island of Sodor's Brendam Docks. Cranky's a smaller crane than others in the country. He's smaller than Terex, and smaller than Christabel, and smaller than her twin Crystalline. But it doesn't stop him from being useful. Cranky is still very strong and is much more portable than some of the other cranes in the country. Well, some of them. Cranky is a high and mighty crane at times, but he's also a hard worker. And wherever he works, whether at Gridinia Bay, Brendam Docks, or any other corner he can travel to, Cranky is always on the job. Cranky's a tall load and a mighty machine. Welcome to Crotoonia, Cranky!
Morning, Scott! Off with your express runs again?
You bet. And off to the loading dock, I assume?
Yeah, and we gotta get going, Rishaira. The boat's probably waited ages for us. All right, cool your pistons, Grace. We'll get it done in twice the time any old crane can.
Well, good luck, you two. Oh, and mind the...
Ew! Ugh, what is that smell? Ugh.
Pong.
I just can't nab my mind on what that smell going about here is. I mean, it's a little bit stinky, but stiffest above is it a real pong. It's like 2 tons of old boiler sludge mixed with 1 ton of engine ash and 2 wagons of stinky cheese all boiled together in an oven. I'm telling you, it's the worst smell I've smelled since the holy hydraulics. Look out below! Oh dear! Oh dear! I'm so sorry! I wasn't paying attention and I bungled it up! No worries. At least it solved that fishy situation.
Hi, you two! You got my load of salmon to take to the Bermaber Station Cafe?